Before we crack open tonight's cursed can of content, I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers, and an extra sinister shout out to the loyal members of the Sinister Elite. You legends help keep the darkness alive. If you're enjoying the stories and want to take it a step further, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and consider joining the Sinister Elite by clicking that join button below. Members get access to creepy custom emojis and exclusive Sinister Elite badges that level up the longer you survive with us. It's like loyalty, but spookier. All right, lights off, headphones in, and let's summon something we'll all regret. They call me Doc, but the name on the door says Dr. Hoover, Nocturnal Dental Services. The sign only lights up between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., same as the hours I'm open. That's not a gimmick. It's survival. My clinic sits at the edge of a forgotten strip mall in a part of town even raccoons avoid. The parking lot lights flicker like they're afraid of the dark, and my only neighbor is a 24-hour blood bank with an out-of-order sign that's been there since 2004. Now, before you call me crazy, yes, my clients are vampires. Actual, hissing, night walking, can't go out in daylight, fangs too long for TSA vampires. And no, they don't brush. You'd think immortals with centuries to kill would figure out flossing, but apparently eternity doesn't come with good dental hygiene. Half of them show up with chipped canines or plaque thick enough to qualify as a second jaw. That's where I come in. The rules of this job are simple, but they're carved in stone and blood. Rule 1, never work past 3 a.m. Rule 2, if you see a reflection in the mirror, run. Rule 3, always sterilize your tools with holy water. Break 1, and you don't need dental insurance, you need a priest. Anyway, it was a Tuesday, or Wednesday, depending on whether you measure time by clocks or screams, when my night started weird. The first car rolled up around 12:58 a.m., black as midnight, with tinted windows darker than a confession booth. The driver stepped out, slick suit, red eyes, and a grin that said, "I've drained at least 3 frat boys tonight." He opened the trunk, and I heard screaming. "Delivery for Doc," he said, dragging out a man in a blood donor shirt. The poor guy was pale, shaking, and duct-taped like a bad Christmas present. "Hey, we said no live snacks in the parking lot," I groaned, waving my clipboard. The vampire shrugged. "He's not for dinner, Doc. He's for insurance." The boss chipped a fang again. Great. Another night, another eternity-toothed narcissist with an attitude problem. Inside the clinic, the waiting room was lit by a single buzzing fluorescent that made everyone look halfway embalmed. The walls were decorated with posters like "Don't bite your dentist" and "Only you can prevent blood loss." I was sterilizing my tools with holy water, sizzling like bacon grease, when my assistant walked in. Her name's Lydia, part ghoul, part accountant, all attitude. She's been dead since the 80s, but still files taxes. "Doc," she said, "your 1 a.m. is here, says he's count something or other. He's dripping on the carpet again." "Of course he is," I sighed, pulling on gloves that smelled faintly of garlic. "Seat him in chair 2. That's the one with the extra straps count something or other shuffled in, cape swishing, teeth like ivory knives. The left fang was cracked clean in half. "Ah, Dr. Hoover," he hissed. "Your expertise is required. I bit into a, holy wafer." "That's not covered by insurance," I said, deadpan. As I leaned in with my mirror and light, I caught something weird. There, in the corner of the mirror, a flicker of movement, a shadowy grin that wasn't the Count's. My blood went cold. Rule number 2. If you see a reflection in the mirror, run. But the Count's mouth was still open, and his fang was half gone. I froze. Lydia saw my face pale and tilted her head. "Doc, you seeing what I'm seeing?" "Depends," I whispered. "You seeing the thing that shouldn't be there?" Before she could answer, the reflection turned its head, slowly, and grinned at me. The room temperature dropped like the air itself was holding its breath. The Count sat up abruptly, fangs bared. "Doctor, there is something behind you." I spun around. Nothing. Just the buzzing light and a stack of magazines that hadn't been touched since 1999. But when I looked back at the mirror, the reflection was still grinning. And it winked. I nearly dropped the mirror. "Okay," I said, my voice cracking. "Let's wrap this up fast before my reflection decides to file for malpractice." Lydia handed me the drill, a custom silver-coated model I call the Fang Blaster. As soon as it touched the Count's tooth, the air filled with a scream that didn't come from him. It came from the mirror. The reflection clawed at the inside of the glass, warping its surface like water. The lights flickered, my drill sputtered, and the holy water on my tray started to boil. Then, silence. The reflection was gone. The Count sat up, tooth fixed, fangs gleaming. "My compliments, Dr. Hoover," he said, licking a speck of blood from his lip. "You are efficient." "Glad you think so," I muttered, wiping sweat from my forehead. "Just don't bite any priests for 48 hours. He grinned, showing off perfect, gleaming fangs. "No promises." As he left, Lydia leaned in and whispered, "Doc, what the hell was that reflection thing?" I sighed, locking the clinic door behind him. "Something new," I said. "And it's only 1:45 a.m. The holy water tray was still steaming. In the reflection of the window behind me, I swore I saw a smile fade, slow and deliberate. By 2 a.m., the clinic smelled like mint toothpaste, blood, and bad decisions. The Count was gone. Lydia was reorganizing the blood vials alphabetically by victim type, and I was trying to unclog the suction hose, which, by the way, makes a noise exactly like a dying bat. I hadn't even had time to sip my coffee, which at this hour is 80% caffeine and 20% holy water. Then came the knock. 3 soft raps, 1 long scratch, 1 whisper. That's how you know it's a vampire, and not a human. Humans don't whisper through doors that thick. Lydia froze mid-label. "That's not on the schedule." "Schedule's more of a suggestion after 2 a.m., I muttered, grabbing my gloves. "Rule number 1, Lydia. Never work past 3. We've got time." She frowned, flipping the open sign to, "You're dying to see us." I opened the door and immediately regretted it. There stood a vampire that looked like he'd been dragged through a graveyard, fed through a blender, and topped with a leather trench coat for garnish. His teeth were black at the roots and his breath smelled like roadkill. "You Doc Hoover?" he rasped. "Name's Benny Fang. Got a toothache. Been drinking swamp blood again." "Sit down, Benny," I said, motioning to chair 3. "And keep your fangs to yourself." As I prepped the silver drill, he started to hum, an old tune, slow and haunting. It crawled into my skull like smoke. Lydia glanced up. "Doc, that song sounds familiar." I nodded slowly. "Yeah. From the reflection last night," she blinked. "The mirror thing? You think it's..." I held up a hand. "Let's just focus on fixing Benny's bad breath before I perform a full exorcism on my own dental tools." But as soon as the drill touched his fang, the lights dimmed. The reflection in the mirror rippled again. Same grin, wider this time, like it was proud to be back. Benny's voice dropped 2 octaves. "You shouldn't have fixed the Count's tooth, Doc. He was a vessel. Now you've opened the door." "Buddy," I said, backing up. "I open mouths, not doors." Lydia threw the breaker, flooding the room in emergency red light. Every shiny surface, the mirrors, the tray, even the little rinse cup, showed that same smiling face, stretching across reflections like it was made of liquid night. The drills started whirring on their own. The suction tube lifted like a snake. Benny's eyes rolled white, and his jaw unhinged wider than it should have. I swear I saw something slither inside. Something with too many teeth and not enough skin. "Holy water!" I barked. Lydia grabbed the sprayer and hosed him down like a demonic car wash. The steam that came off him smelled like burnt pennies and nightmares. Benny screamed, and the reflection shattered with him. Glass raining down, sizzling on contact. Silence again. The clock said 2:37 a.m. My heart said file for early retirement. Benny's body lay still, half steamed. Then, because my life's a joke, it moved. His eyes snapped open, glowing bright red, and his voice came out in stereo. Two voices at once. One vampire. One reflection. "You can't cleanse what's inside the mirror, Dr. Hoover," it said. "You only polish it." Lydia dropped her clipboard. "Doc, what the hell do we do?" "New rule," I muttered, grabbing my mop from the corner. "Never piss off your reflection." It wasn't Moptimus Prime. This mop was his less famous cousin, Gregory the Absorbent. Still, I jammed it down Benny's throat like I was swabbing a cannon. Holy water poured down the handle. Benny shrieked, burst into ash, and the red lights flickered back to normal white. Lydia exhaled. "You really just waterboarded a vampire with a mop?" "Welcome to dentistry after dark," I said, wiping my face. We cleaned smiles and souls. We dumped what was left of Benny Fang into a silver-lined trash can and rolled it out back. That's when I noticed something new. My reflection in the clinic window didn't move when I did. It was smiling again, that same wide, knowing grin. But this time it raised a finger to its lips. "Shh. Lydia," I whispered. "Lock the back door." Now she turned to look, and gasped. "Doc, your reflection isn't the only one smiling." Every reflective surface in the clinic, tools, faucets, metal trays, was filled with faces, grinning, hungry, and one by one the smiles started moving closer. The clock hit 2:59 a.m., time to close shop. There's a sound that haunts me worse than any scream or hiss. It's the ding of my wall clock flipping from 2:59 to 3 a.m. When that happens, I don't clock out. I pray out. Rule number 1, never work past 3 a.m., because after that the clinic doesn't belong to me anymore. I flicked the lights off and locked the door, but the grins in the windows didn't fade. They stared back like fogged-up photographs, mouths twitching in perfect sync. The air felt thicker, like the oxygen was being chewed before I could breathe it. Lydia was pacing, muttering, "You ever think about a day job? Like pet grooming or accounting?" "I tried accounting once," I said, watching the mirrors warp. "Didn't like all the bloodsuckers there either." That earned a nervous snort from her, but then one of the dental chairs moved. Just a little squeak of rubber and leather. Then another. All 3 chairs turned at once to face me. "Oh, hell no," I said. "They don't even do that in The Exorcist Dental Edition." Lydia grabbed the holy sprayer, but the nozzle dripped like the water didn't want to leave. The mirror over the sink cracked down the middle, and from the crack, something started pressing through. It looked like a hand at first, pale, translucent, and dripping with mercury. Then another, then a face, stretched and smiling wide enough to split its cheeks. "Doc," Lydia whispered, backing up. "What are we looking at?" "Judging by the smell of rot and regret," I said. "A reflection overdue for a cleaning." The thing slid halfway out of the mirror, its grin shimmering like oil. Every reflection in the room, even the silver trays, began to bleed light. The air filled with a sound like glass laughing. And then the thing spoke. "You polish them," it gurgled. "You make them pretty. You make them shine. But what about what's left behind?" I swallowed. "Listen, pal, I'm just a dentist. I clean fangs, not metaphysical trauma." The thing tilted its head, still grinning. "But you opened the door. You made the first reflection bleed. And now we want in." I looked around for anything I could use as a weapon. The mop was still wet from earlier, but holy water was useless now. The reflections were the water, shimmering, liquid, alive. Lydia whispered, "Doc, I think we're screwed." "Not yet," I said. "Grab the X-ray gun." She blinked. "The what?" "The dental X-ray scanner. It's got a gamma filter. It fries vampire enamel. Maybe it'll toast a ghost." I pointed the thing at the mirror creature and hit the trigger. A bright blue flash filled the room, and the creature screamed, a sound like shattering crystal and breaking bones. Its face rippled, its smile melted. For a moment, I thought we'd won. Then every other mirror in the clinic lit up with hundreds of faces, each one smiling, each one with fangs. "Oh, great," I muttered. "We've gone from dental practice to demonic group therapy." They started pushing out of the glass, hundreds of translucent bodies, crawling through every reflection they could find. The floor tiles reflected their faces, the ceiling light, even the little metal tray holding my floss picks. "Lydia," I yelled, "kill the lights. Now." She smashed the main switch, plunging the clinic into total darkness. The faces vanished instantly, no reflections without light. Only the faint red glow of the exit sign remained. We stood there in the dark, breathing hard. Somewhere behind us, a soft scraping sound moved along the wall. "Doc," Lydia whispered. "I think something's still here." I pulled out my flashlight and flicked it on. The beam caught the sink mirror, cracked, splattered, and trembling. Written across it in fog was a single word: thirst. A droplet of black liquid dripped from the word, sizzling as it hit the counter. It wasn't blood, it was shadow. That's when the building itself groaned, like something was inside the walls. Every pipe rumbled, the floor vibrated, and the dental chairs started to squeal as the hydraulics rose on their own. "Rule number 1, I shouted. "We're past 3. We're not supposed to be here." Lydia was already halfway to the back door. "Tell that to whatever's trying to crawl out of the plumbing." I bolted after her. Behind us, the walls rippled, literally rippled, like water disturbed by wind. Hands pressed out from inside them. Fingernails made of mirror glass scraped along the tiles, reaching. We burst through the back door and into the alley. My least favorite place in the world, but at least it didn't have reflections. The air outside was cold, still, and heavy with fog. My heart was pounding like a jackhammer, and the clock on my wrist read 3:04 a.m. We were too late. The clinic lights flickered once, twice, then shut off completely. For a second, everything was silent. Then I heard it, a faint clinking of tools like someone was inside. The door creaked open on its own, and there I was. Me, standing in the doorway. Same face, same gloves, same terrified expression. Except my reflection smiled first. When your own reflection waves at you, you've officially hit rock bottom as a dentist. It stood there in the doorway, me but sharper, cleaner. Its eyes glowed faintly red, its smile too perfect. I've spent years fixing fangs, and that grin had the symmetry of pure evil. "Doc," Lydia whispered beside me. "Please tell me that's a prank. Like an evil twin thing. We're filming a commercial, right?" "If we are," I said. I didn't approve the script. The reflection stepped into the alley. Its shoes didn't make a sound. The fog rippled around it like it was walking through water. "Dr. Hoover," it said in my own voice, but smoother, more confident, like the version of me that actually gets 8 hours of sleep. "You broke your own rule." "Which one?" I asked, stalling for time. "All of them." It tilted its head, eyes flashing crimson. "You stayed past 3. You saw what shouldn't be seen, and you sterilized your tools in holy water. You burned the mirror's door." I blinked. "You're telling me the holy water woke you up?" "You didn't cleanse me, doctor. You invited me." "Oh, fantastic. I'd spent all these years worrying about cavities when I should have been worrying about cosmic consequences." Lydia tugged my sleeve. "Doc, we gotta get out of here." "Where?" I hissed. "It's 3 in the morning, we're surrounded by fog, and I left my anti-doppelganger kit in my other lab coat." My reflection smirked. "You can't run, doctor. You're the only one who can fix us." "Us?" I echoed. Behind it, the fog shifted, and out stepped more figures. Dozens of them, each one a twisted version of me. One had burned skin, another's mouth stretched from ear to ear. and one wore my old dental school jacket, soaked in blood. They all smiled, every one of them. "Lydia," I said slowly, "you ever wonder what happens to reflections when we walk away from mirrors?" She stared. "Not until right now, no." "They wait," I said, realization dawning. "They wait to be seen again. And maybe they start wanting out." The reflections began moving closer, their forms flickering like bad reception. I could see the faint shimmer of the mirror dimension behind them, a warped world made of silver glass, stretching forever. My reflection, the leader, I guess, pointed at me with my own hand. "Your patience brought us closer. Every fang you polished, every drop of blood you spilled, you weakened the boundary. So you're saying this is all because I didn't switch to electric toothbrushes?" The leader's smile faltered. "You joke, but the door is open now. We are free." Before I could answer, Lydia raised the holy sprayer and blasted him right in the face. The water hissed like acid. His skin cracked, but instead of burning, it reflected more light, like his body was turning into a living mirror. "Bad idea, Lydia," I yelled. The reflection screamed, the sound bending the air. The other clones lunged forward, moving like shadows breaking apart. I swung the X-ray gun in a panic and fired. The beam hit one of them square in the chest, shattering it into a rain of glass shards that clinked and reassembled behind me. They didn't die. They multiplied. "Oh, perfect," I yelled. "They're self-filling cavities." We ran for the van, my old, dented mobile dental unit parked behind the clinic. Lydia dove into the passenger seat as I fumbled the keys. The reflection army surrounded us, their faces pressed against the windows, mouths opening too wide, rows of jagged fangs glinting in the dim light. "Drive!" Lydia screamed. "Where to?" "Anywhere without mirrors." I slammed the gas. The van fishtailed out of the alley, smashing through garbage cans and a newspaper stand. I could see their reflections chasing us in the side mirrors, so I ripped them off mid-turn. That's when Lydia noticed something horrifying. "Doc, look in the rear view." I shouldn't have, but I did. Every window in the clinic had shattered outward. 1,000 tiny fragments of mirror glass were swirling through the fog like glitter caught in a tornado. And every piece had a tiny version of my face screaming inside it. The sound hit us like static in the brain. My ears rang. The van's dashboard lights flickered. For a split second, I saw my reflection in the windshield grin at me. "Don't you dare," I whispered. The windshield cracked down the middle. A pale hand pressed out from inside the glass. "Oh, come on," I shouted, jerking the wheel. We swerved into the old cemetery across from the clinic, skidding to a stop beside a row of headstones. Lydia clutched the dashboard. "Doc, tell me this place is safer." I laughed weakly. "Define safe." Then, from the shadows between the graves, figures started to appear. Dozens of vampires, fangs gleaming, eyes red, elegant as corpses in tuxedos. One of them stepped forward, tall and pale, the Count from earlier. His fang was perfect again, and his smile stretched ear to ear. "Dr. Hoover," he said smoothly, "you've done a marvelous work. You fixed our smiles. You freed our reflections." My stomach dropped. "You knew this would happen?" He nodded. "Of course. The reflection world was our prison. You opened the gate. Now both sides are hungry." "Hungry for what?" Lydia asked, voice trembling. The Count's grin widened. "You." Behind him, the vampire horde hissed. Behind them, the mirrored versions of me hissed back in sync. Two armies, one world bleeding into another. And there I was in the middle of it, holding a half-empty bottle of holy water, a smoking X-ray gun, and a cheap mop named Gregory. I sighed. Guess it's time for a full extraction. The graveyard looked like a battlefield for the damned. Vampires on one side, mirror versions of me on the other, both grinning like they'd just found a buffet labeled Fresh Human Dentist. Lydia clutched my arm, whispering, "Doc, any chance this is a stress dream?" "If it is," I said, "remind me to fire my subconscious." The Count stepped forward, cape gliding over the tombstones. His fangs gleamed under the flickering moonlight. You, Dr. Hoover, have accomplished what even the eldest of us could not. A bridge between blood and reflection. Yeah, I've always been an overachiever, I said, raising the X-ray gun. Any chance we can just call this an unfortunate dental accident? The Count laughed, a deep, ancient rumble that shook the air. No, Doctor. This is evolution behind him. The vampire's shadows stretched long and thin, and then twisted upward, meeting the mirrored versions of me like they were fusing together. Flesh and reflection merged into something worse. Skin like polished chrome, veins pulsing red under silver surfaces. Every mouth smiled with double rows of fangs. My teeth, perfect and terrible. Lydia muttered, "So, what's the plan? Holy water? Garlic grenades? Praying for an early sunrise?" I looked down at the mop in my hand. Gregory the Absorbent, holy water soaked and quietly dripping like it was nervous too. And that's when it hit me. The reflection came from sterilized tools, I said, pacing. Holy water doesn't destroy them. It mirrors them. It copies what it touches. Lydia blinked. So what do? We fight reflection with reflection. I yanked the cap off the last bottle of holy water and dumped it all over Gregory's mop head. The handle glowed faintly gold. For a second, I could swear it hummed, like it was charging up for a boss fight. The Count tilted his head. You think a mop will save you? Buddy, I said, twirling it like a sword. You're talking to a man who flosses with silver wire. Let's dance. They charged. Vampires leapt from the graves. Reflections phased through headstones, and I met them head on. The first swing of Gregory's mop splashed holy water in a wide arc. It burned through the front line like acid. Steam and screams filled the air. The second wave came faster, shadows darting from every angle. Lydia grabbed a silver tray and started throwing dental instruments like ninja stars. Who knew root canal picks made good weapons? Dental school doesn't cover this, I yelled, swinging again. Each hit sent ripples through the mirrored monsters. Every drop of holy water made them split into smaller, weaker copies, their shiny skin dulling with every impact. The Count lunged, fangs bared, eyes blazing. He moved faster than I could blink. 1 second he was 10 feet away, the next he was inches from my throat. He hissed, "I'll mount your head on the wall of eternity." "Make sure you polish it first," I snarled, driving the mop handle straight through his chest. He screamed, not in pain, but in pure fury. His reflection split from his body, clawing and writhing like a second version of him trying to break free. Both halves burned in unison as the holy water hissed and boiled. The entire graveyard trembled. The air itself rippled like liquid glass. Mirrors cracked in the sky. Yes, the sky, like the barrier between worlds, was breaking apart. Lydia grabbed my arm. "Doc, it's collapsing. What do we do?" "Rule number 1, I shouted over the chaos. "We close the shop before 3. But it's already past 3. Then we close the door another way." I sprinted to the van and slammed open the back doors. The portable dental X-ray machine was still buzzing, half charged and sparking. I aimed it straight at the swirling sky of mirrors. "Doc, that thing's unstable," Lydia yelled. "So am I." I cranked the voltage all the way to liability lawsuit and hit the switch. The beam fired upward, blasting through the glass sky in a burst of searing white light. The reflected versions of me screamed, hundreds of them, before shattering into dust. The vampires burst into flames, their mirrored halves collapsing inward like imploding silver balloons. The light grew brighter, burning through every surface until the graveyard glowed like daylight. For a second, I thought I saw my reflection smile back, not the evil one, just me, and whisper something. Brush twice. Live once. Then everything went white. When I woke up, the sun was rising over the strip mall. The clinic was half burned, the sign flickering weakly. Dr. Hoover. Dentist to the damned. Lydia was sitting on the curb smoking a cigarette that smelled like sage and leftover terror. "You died for about 30 seconds, you know." 30 seconds? I groaned. "Not bad. I've had root canals longer than that." She handed me a coffee cup. So, we quitting? I looked at the clinic, at the busted windows reflecting nothing but blue sky. For the first time in years, I couldn't see a single smile looking back. Nah, I said, taking a sip. We'll reopen tomorrow night. Business is gonna boom. Word of mouth marketing. She groaned. I hate you. Yeah, I said, smirking. But the patients love me. As the morning breeze rolled through, I caught a faint glint in the window, a tiny reflection of me, giving a thumbs up before fading away. Guess even monsters need a good dentist.